The NEPSAC girls playoff brackets have dropped. I am Evan Marinofsky alongside Patrick Donnelly. We're here on Sunday morning. It's February 25th. I'm a little sick, a little congested, but we battle through, Pat, for stuff like this. And I want to go over the girls bracket with you because this is something we discussed the last couple weeks, and now it's official in the Elite Eight, the small school, and the large school. We'll go bit by bit.
Mhm.
Elite Eight wise, St. Paul's gets in. They're the eight seed. They'll play Nobles. What stands out to you about that, the Elite Eight bracket?
Yeah, the way the Elite Eight kind of shook out, I guess, from 3 to 6 is really I think was the most interesting part because Andover sort of locked up three with their win over Loomis during the week, but there was a ton of shuffling, especially Friday going into Saturday with because the algorithm takes into account results from all across the NEPSAC. So Kent had moved up to four, I think, at one point, or Deerfield moved right back up to four. Um, but in the end, it kind of played out the way I expected at 3 and 4. Loomis and Deerfield tied. Loomis takes four. Kent and Deerfield was interesting, just the way that shook out, because you know, just Kent sneaking in there to five. Deerfield doesn't obviously get the edge with that tie on Saturday. A win would have gone a long way. Maybe they would have gone back up to four. But everything else is kind of as we expected. St. Paul's was in control of their own destiny, as we like to say. They won out, so they were fine at eight. Tabor was a lot was going to have to happen to probably push Tabor out of seven. And then Nobles, Williston 1 and 2. That's been how it's been shaping out since Christmas.
Yeah, I'm looking at the bracket right now. I think the big standout to me, I don't know, like a four versus five. It's not really an upset if a five wins, but I'm looking like, you know, I I would favor Nobles and Williston, but there's odds are in the semifinal we get a rematch of last year's championship game with Williston and Andover, and I think that could be really interesting, right?
Yeah, definitely. Especially, I thought Williston and Andover, you know, Williston's been battling through some injuries down the stretch here, and even kind of all season. And Andover gets the better of them last time out, but we know what Williston can do. Monique Lyons can just she's averaging, I think, over 2 points a game. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but their offense is so potent. They're so stacked talent wise, where I mean, just in general, that game could be the game of the tournament. Um, with the way Andover's been, they've been on this heater since January. Their stars too, Caroline Averill, Maggie Averill, Molly Boyle, even Sarah Powers is having an awesome season. It's really tough to kind of give an edge to someone there, especially with the head-to-head meetings. So that'll be really fun to watch if things shake out that way. I am excited for Andover and Deerfield first round because that game in January when I saw them was awesome. I thought it was pretty evenly matched. Andover kind of pulled away at the end. Their depth kind of took over, but the top lines kind of cancel each other out, so it'll be up to the depth players there. And I remember one of my takeaways from that game was another one of these in the playoffs, please. And here we are.
And that's what you get. You got what you
Yep.
asked for. Let's move along to the large school bracket. Choate and Westminster get buys in the quarterfinals, so that means the quarterfinal matchups will be number four BB&N, number five Thayer, and then on the other side, number three Dexter and number six Phillips Exeter. Does anything stand out to you about that part of the bracket? Whether it be the teams with buys or the teams that have to play in the quarterfinals.
I would say Thayer is really interesting to watch. We talked last time about just how banged up they are with illness and injury. They only dressed 13 skaters, I think it was, against Nobles, and they've been on a bit of a slide here, kind of limping to the finish with, this depleted roster. They've lost three straight, 4 of 5 going to the finish here. So if they can get healthy, if they can get some players back, like we know what their top talent can do, whether it's Morgan McGathy, Abby DeAngelis, um, you know their top line, their top pair, even their top two pairs, I think can hang with anyone in that large school bracket, especially with McGathy on the ice. Um, so it's just a matter of if they can get healthy and get people some rest. Because the game I saw against Nobles, McGathy's out there every other shift and she's doing all she could, but she's gassed, but still creating chances.
Yeah, I'm looking at that one as well. BB&N's always kind of in the mix. That's not going to be easy matchup for Thayer. Dexter has obviously the upper hand in the matchup with Exeter, and then you have Choate and Westminster as the number 1 and 2 seeds there. Let's go along to the small school bracket. Groton takes number 1. New Hampton takes number 2. They both get buys to the semifinals, and then in the quarterfinals we'll have number 4 Millbrook and number 5 Tilton and number 3 Frederick Gunn and number 6 Rivers. What stands out to you about that side of the that bracket?
I would say, Groton was one of those that team all season. We were kind of like, will they take the next step and be an elite eight team? And at least this season, they seem to be the cream of the crop in that lot in that small school, excuse me, in that small school bracket. Um, so it's can they do what they're quote unquote supposed to do and win it all here? New Hampton, I think, is definitely going to be a factor, though. We talked last time about just sort of battle tested, so many ties. Like, those are experiences that you get throughout the season of what it takes to win close games, what you need to, do going forward when it matters most. So I think New Hampton, if we could get a repeat of last year's final, Groton New Hampton, I think that would be at least entertaining wise, it'd be pretty special. But we talked about Rivers. I think Rivers is definitely one to keep an eye on. They lost to Dexter in their regular season finale, but they've been red hot. They worked their way back into the small school picture. Even Tilton, hasn't really picked up wins against the strongest opponents. Couple like several matchups against Elite Eight caliber teams, whether it's Groton, St. Paul's, New Hampton. Obviously, two of those three didn't make it in, but worthy contenders. But still a potent offense. They can really fill the net, so I think they'd be interesting to watch too.
Out of these three brackets, are there any teams that are lower seeded that you see as potential upset candidates for any of the three brackets, or are there no teams that you look at? Do you favor all the higher seeds when you take, your first impressions of these brackets?
Um, I mean, it's tough because it's a 3 and a 4, but I think BB&N against Dexter could be one to really keep an eye on because BB&N and Dexter and BB&N are really in the same boat. But especially if you look at the first halves of their seasons to now, just how much better they've been down the stretch to work into higher seeds. But BB&N has really been on a run here. They had a big tie with Nobles. They've just been finding ways to get it done. I think they'd be one to watch against Dexter. Again, it's a 3 and a 4. I think Tabor against Williston. I mean, we talked about getting hot at the right time. Williston might be a little banged up here. Who's to say, really? Um, but I think Tabor's red hot could be getting Williston at a weak moment if Williston is having some injury troubles once things start. Um, so I think those could be ones to watch. Even Tilton and New Hampton, a couple of Lakes Regions teams there. Obviously, New Hampton had the better of Tilton in the regular season. But we talked about losing to teams in the regular season, especially within that last month, and what that could mean come playoff time. Little bulletin board material.
Well, there's a lot, and we'll have a lot predictions for every round. We'll have breakdowns of every round. There's so much with this girls prep field. So, Pat, thanks for taking the time, and then there'll be a separate video on the boys. We'll see you next time.